Is the Motorola Moto G Play 2021 worth buying in 2022? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, and this is the Moto G Play 2021. Now at this point, this phone is essentially 1 year old because it was originally launched in January of 2021, hence its name. Now this device is offered at a variety of different prepaid carriers and postpaid carriers as well, and you can get it factory unlocked. I know, for example, this phone has been very popular at Metro by T-Mobile, and there's many situations where people actually got this phone for free in exchange for switching in from another carrier. So if that happens to be the case for you, then let me know in the comment section below. Now, of course, if you don't want the phone to be tied to any specific carrier, you can always get the unlocked model of it, and I will be linking to that in the video description below. But essentially, this device is designed to take care of some of the more basic smartphone tasks, such as phone calls, text messages, and light web browsing and social media. Now, of course, if you want to use it for more demanding tasks, you're always welcome to do so, but on the other hand, you probably will notice some slowdowns with this phone since it doesn't necessarily have the most powerful processor or a whole lot of RAM. Now, with the Moto G Play 2021, we are getting a 6.5-inch display, so in general, a pretty big display here with the phone, and it is an IPS LCD display, and you probably noticed too that we do have pretty bright and clear colors here. Now, the display is 720p, so it is unfortunately not 1080p. We're getting a PPI of 270, a 20:9 aspect ratio, so a more narrow but taller form factor, and we're getting an 80.6% screen-to-body ratio. So we do have a pretty decently thick bottom bezel, and we do have a water drop notch up top, which does house the 5-megapixel front-facing camera. But even though this is 720p, I do feel like, in general, everything is very easy to see and read here on the display. And yeah, of course, 1080p always would be better over 720p, but for a budget device like this one, I do feel like we are still getting a pretty decent value here when it does come to the display in general. Now with the Moto G Play 2021, we're getting 32 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion. So I do appreciate that we do have the ability to expand the storage from what we're getting here. And the microSD card expansion is especially helpful for offloading photos and videos, for example. Now with this phone, there's no wireless charging, which is a bit unfortunate, but we do have a fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone. So we'll give that a try right now. Okay, one more time. So we are getting a pretty decently fast and accurate fingerprint sensor here with the phone. And in addition to that, this device does support face unlock, so I do appreciate that we do have multiple methods for accessing the device. Now as far as the cameras go, I already talked about the front-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels, and then we do have a dual camera setup on the rear of the phone with a 13 megapixel main camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera for portrait mode. So we are getting portrait mode for both the rear and front-facing cameras, but unfortunately, there is no ultra wide angle camera. Now here's how things look through the main camera on the rear of the phone. Then from here, we can also switch around to the front-facing camera so that you can take selfies. So in general, the camera quality is pretty decent, certainly not the best and nowhere near as good as a $1,000 smartphone, for example. But for what it is, it does get the job done. And then from here, we can easily go over to portrait mode to get those nice blurred out backgrounds. So this applies to both the front and rear cameras as well. And the phone also does support 1080p video recording for both the front and rear cameras. And we do have some other bonus features here as well, such as cutout, spot color, panorama, live filter, and a pro mode for photos. And we're also getting slow motion, time lapse, and spot color for video as well. So of course, we're not getting nearly as many different camera features as we would get with a more expensive smartphone, but at the same time, we're not losing out on some commonly used features such as portrait mode. Now with this device, we're getting 3 gigabytes of RAM and the Qualcomm Snapdragon 460 processor. So in general, performance is good enough to do kind of the standard tasks, as I mentioned earlier on in the video. But if you are planning on doing more demanding tasks with the phone, such as video editing or high performance gaming, then you're definitely going to want to go for something a bit higher end. Or if you're someone that's constantly using your smartphone throughout the day, then you're definitely going to get a bit annoyed that this phone is not very fast. But again, if you're using it for kind of the more standard tasks, then it will get the job done. And honestly, you really don't need anything too much better. Now, I did run a Geekbench 5 benchmark test here with the phone, and I'll show you the scores from that test right now. But essentially, I got a single core score of 233 and a multi-core score of 1142. So what I recommend doing is running this test on your current phone and then compare your scores to these scores to get a better idea of whether or not the Moto G Play 2021 would be a performance upgrade for you, because it is possible that your current phone might actually be faster. So compare these stats to the stats in your current phone to get a better idea of the difference. Now with this device, we are getting a 5,000 milliamp hour internal battery, so a massive battery, and we're getting 10 watt fast charging. Now 10 watt fast charging isn't quite the fastest, but I am happy that we do have it compared to just having 5 watt charging. And then of course, having that very generous battery capacity will give you very good battery life throughout the day. Now as far as software goes, Motorola does give us a pretty standard, almost stock Android experience here, but they have added in a variety of their own features. Now definitely take a look at the tips and tricks video that we have here on the channel, as that goes really deep into the various features that you should expect from this phone. But essentially, I'm a big fan of the software. It is nice and clean and refined, so I really have no complaints. And another bonus as well is that this phone recently did get an update from Android 10 to Android 11. So I do appreciate that. But the bad news is that Android 12 is now out. So I'd imagine that if they just went through all the work of switching this phone from Android 10 to Android 11, then we're probably not going to be getting Android 12 for quite some time. So that is a bit unfortunate, but it is the reality. And if that's a problem, then maybe go for something different. Another downside with this phone is that there is no NFC. So if you do like to use NFC for mobile contactless payments, then you won't be able to do that here with the Moto G Play 2021. And then getting into the hardware here of the phone, I already talked quite a bit about the front panel here, but essentially it is a pretty decent display for a lower end phone like this one. We do though have pretty thick bezels all throughout, but again, for a lower end phone, that is to be expected. Now the phone is made completely out of plastic besides the display, which is glass, but taking a look at the left side of the phone, we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. Then on the right side of the phone, we have the power button, volume down and volume up. Then up top here, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack and with the noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we have the microphone, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and the speaker. Now this phone does not have stereo sound, so sound of course will come out of the earpiece for phone calls, but unlike some more premium devices, if you're playing a song or watching a video, for example, you're only going to be getting audio out of the bottom speaker. Now, thankfully, it is pretty decent, but again, that is kind of a downgrade compared to the more premium devices where you do have audio being emitted from multiple areas on the phone, which does tend to give you a more immersive audio listening experience. Now, taking a look at the back side of the device, it is pretty simple. We do have that dual camera setup with the flash and then the fingerprint sensor with the Motorola logo in the middle. And then the finish we have here is a blue gradient and it is a matte finish. So I'm glad that it is a matte finish because it doesn't really pick up too many fingerprints at all. So in general, even though it is made out of plastic, I think it does look pretty nice. So in conclusion, is the Motorola Moto G Play 2021 worth buying in 2022? In general, I do feel like it is a good option. It really depends on what other options you have though. Since there is so much competition in the budget phone space, it really just depends on what other deals are being offered. So for example, I know that many people that bought this phone bought it because it was being promoted through a buy one get one deal, or maybe a deal where you port in your number from another carrier and you get it for free. So there might be a different phone now that's being offered by the carriers where they give you that deal. So in that sense, maybe go for something different. But if the Moto G Play seems like it's the best deal out there, especially compared to other devices in this segment, then it certainly isn't a bad option at this point. But I'm really curious to know what you think. Do you think the Moto G Play 2021 is a decent option in 2022? And if you own this phone, let me know what you think about it and how your experience has been. But this is the Moto G Play 2021 in 2022. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Kevin here, and I will see you in the next one.